everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Unspoken Podcast, your one-stop space for family, sexual, and reproductive health. Brought to you by the Free Tribe Network, a non-profit organization that is focused on these areas through research programs and projects. So today we're talking about the boy child. We have the International Day of the Boy Child coming up, and we're not doing it alone. Today we have a special guest. So we have a clinical psychologist. He is passionate in the areas of social health and societal norm and social changes, especially with child health. Okay, let's give a big hoot hoot for Benjamin Oyeson. Thank you for being here. All right, so let's go right into it. So when we talk about a child reproductive health, there's this major focus on the girl child, and we don't really speak about the boy child. Like, when should we start having this sexual talk with them, and how should parents go about it?
Okay, so now if we are trying to talk about the reproductive health of the boy child and why it is really not something that we do in Nigeria, not even in Nigeria, I think globally, you understand? I think it comes from the culture of, how parents pass down certain form of, let me say, ideas to their children. And even aside from that, you know that the kind of modeling that parents have towards their children, it's also reflects in their reproductive health behaviors and behavior models, So for instance, let's go back a little bit to talk about the traditional man. Now, the traditional man is goes out to the jungle, gets things for the traditional wife who stays in the kitchen, and traditional wife, takes care of the family. But the traditional man, because he's the head of the family and because he is the one that satisfies the basic needs of the family, he is higher, or let me say on that platform, he has a higher rank. And because of that higher rank, it now seems as though there is now a passage from the traditional man to his children, to his male sons, and that idea of superiority. And that idea of superiority is not just superiority over every other thing, it's superiority particularly over the female gender. And this thing is something that we still see now, and this is the root of the behavior models when it comes to reproductive health in the male people, or let me say in the male gender. Okay. And now it's starting to affect everybody now, and not just it affects me, despite the fact that I am not I really value reproductive health when it comes to the boy child. It affects me because the people around me, the females around me, the things I see on Twitter, the mindset of the friends that I have around me, all of these things, they affect. So it's affecting everybody, not just certain group of people. So if we want to see how best we can go about this, I talked about modeling, how the traditional man models certain attitudes towards his male sons. I think it's not just about talking of education through words, oral education. It's also about modeling. There needs to be a change in the way we the male parents models the gender roles of their own gender roles to their own incoming children. So I think that this is what surrounds the idea of concerning reproductive health when it comes to the boy child.
All right. So if this modeling is in place, so are you trying to say that boys are just everybody thinks that boys should just know what to do?
Okay.
Is that what you're trying to say? That there's no need to tell the boy, he has seen the way his father behaved. Yes. He should just take what the father has done. There's no real my child, this is right, this is wrong, this is how your body is. Yes, this is how you're supposed to respond to things like that. This is how to take care of yourself. This is how to be aware of what is going on in your body. Is the child just meant to know, or are we supposed to teach the child based on this modeling you've talked about?
Okay, so obviously the family is the first point of contact with every child, and family is the primary agent of socialization. So certain cultures, or let me say certain orientations, come from the family, in not just in the way that they speak or in the words that they say, but rather their attitudes. So when it comes to answering your question now, yes, oral words are very, very important. But what is much more stronger than oral words is modeling. And modeling, when I say modeling, I mean how the parents model themselves as role models to their younger children.
What the children sees.
Yes.
Okay. In the girl child, especially mothers are quite meticulous about, don't let this person touch you here. If a handshake passes the elbow, be cautious of that person. Make sure you're with your phone when you're walking at night. Make sure you can call somebody. Lock your door when changing. All those kind of stuff. Like, make sure you're not alone with a guy. Make sure if somebody is looking at you and making you uncomfortable, make sure you shift, or just all those cues, cues. And also the part where we talk about where the girl is about to have a period and be like, the cleanliness that have to go with it, the grooming, because in a girl child, especially the mother is more meticulous about teaching her, this is it, this is how you clean yourself, this is it. Though we've been hearing cases that a lot of girls were not trained, that it was when probably always came to their school and told them this and told them that.
Yes.
But we know that for the girl child, parents are more meticulous about teaching them about their sexual health and cleanliness.
Yes.
But for the boy child, I'm not sure I have seen that case. I've seen few cases, very few, and it's mostly testimonies from the boy child saying, my mother said this to us, my father said this to us. But it's very rare and it's a very small percentage.
Okay.
So, like, there should be space for that kind of communication for the boy child, right?
Yes, there should be. And, well, we can say that there is, but the education is not educative enough. So now when we're talking about the talk, usually there's this concept, the talk. And the talk is usually given by the father to his son, and then the talk, all it entails basically, in most times, always use protection. That's
I think
it.
Hollywood, is it Hollywood? Yeah, it's mostly Hollywood that have destroyed how the talk is supposed to be like.
Yes.
Because the testimony I have gotten from, this is just one person, that the talk was about, was the father really said, like, do this, like, you're not supposed to do this, you're not supposed to do this, you're not supposed to do this, not use protection.
Yes.
When
yes.
So, like, how should that the talk be like?
Okay, so now I'm coming from the perspective of a psychologist and trying to manage behavior and behavior change. I think parents should watch this podcast. So, usually when trying to drive behavior change, or when trying to encourage a behavior, is usually best that you focus on the consequences of those behaviors, the positive and the negative consequences. So now, like you rightly said about how mothers educate their female children, sometimes there are poor education, like if a boy should touch you, you are pregnant. Like, you are pregnant already. So you see the girl, so it's not educative enough. And also for the boy child, if certain educative means like, don't be in a room with a lady, or don't allow only yourself to don't be in a corner where you can be tempted to do things like that. That is good education, right? But those are just instructions. It's not education.
It's not everything.
Yeah, exactly. So why don't we try focusing on the consequence like this? And the consequence is usually most educative, because you're telling the boy child that if you do this, this is what it's going to lead to. And not just the immediate consequences, not just the manifest consequences, but also the latent consequences. That is the consequences like maybe 2 years ahead, or 5 years ahead, how to affect the boy's life, so that the boy can now be able to make his own decisions. Decisions are made on evaluation of consequences, both positive and negative, benefits and risks. So once those decisions can be made, a child will be able to he'll stand close to his principles, because he has made the decision by himself and he's not just operating based on instructions. So I think this is why the reproductive health education is really messed up. That's what I believe.
So this is why I asked you now. This part of consequences. What age should the parents tell the child that okay, if you're growing older, you're feeling things, and there are changes going on in your body. There are things you like, there are things you don't like now. When you were 4 years old, you did not like any girl. Now you are 14 years old. You have started seeing girls and realizing that girls are beautiful.
Yes.
So, like, what age is best to start talking to them about consequences? Like there have been increase in teenage pregnancy, and people say, it's their decision. Yes, it's their decision, but do they know the consequences? Are they equipped to take care of a child? Because part of the consequences is what kind of home will you give this child?
Okay.
What kind of support, financial support, can you give this child? When the child becomes your age, what do you want the child to think about life? Because if you start being irresponsible now, it means that your children are going to suffer for it later. Are you thinking about your future, the girl's future, and the future of your children? Now, we'll say that that is too big for a child to think about. But then, if we're talking about consequences, they should add this up to their action. They are old when are they old enough to know that this is beyond me?
Okay.
When are they old enough to know what responsibility is for them to be told these consequences?
Okay. So now, when you're trying to educate a child, of course, you cannot start telling a baby that's like maybe 5 and then if you marry, if you have sex, if you don't use protection, you're going to get pregnant and your life is going to, and the 5-year-old baby is just like, what are you saying? So I think personally, it starts from opportunities like ask questions. Children are very, very inquisitive, and they ask, like, you just see one or maybe their auntie just enter into the room with a big, very big stomach, and what happened to auntie? Auntie is pregnant. What was pregnant? What does pregnancy mean? And they are explaining the truth, not all of those.
God bless them.
Exactly. Not that type of explanation. So if they are telling the child the truth, maybe in simpler terms, that maybe they might understand. Because if you look at it, we understand some things better, but they were told to us when we were younger. This is why this person said this. Now I now understand it better. So something like that. They don't need to understand this fully, but make sure that everything they are telling them is correct, everything is right. So now growing to certain ages, when we are talking about consequences in children, there is a point where they are thinking, that those processes start becoming much more concrete, and they are able to make decisions when it comes to risk and benefits. Children don't really at certain ages they realize risk and benefits through experiences. Like when the first time that they taste an ice cream and I really like ice cream. Whenever they see ice cream, they always want to get it, or maybe putting their hands maybe on something hot, and after it burns them, you would notice that they don't want to go there again. So experiences, so they're not able to make conscious decisions through consequences, risks, and benefits. Now there are now certain ages. This is very, very subjective to parents. I don't know. Future questions like. Okay. So this is very, very subjective to parents, and the reason I'm saying this is because children are different. So you'll be able to know that my child is not starting to think at a much more deeper level than how he used to think before. There are certain questions that the child will ask, or certain cues that the child will be like, mommy, why is this going on? Or why? This my child is actually growing in terms of their thought processes, and it is very, very subjective. Like it is different in different children. So the moment a parent is able to subjectively evaluate that, my child is able to understand the consequences of their actions and all of that, then that is the best time to deliver the talk. Right where they are young, right where they still have a lot of questions, then they continue to ask questions. Children, they will continue to ask questions while they are growing up. And these questions just mean concern. They are concerned about this topic, and because of that concern, they are now able to grow into the ideal man or the ideal male child. and then start to treat their own health, reproductive health, other people around them, treat them better. So that is my own contribution to this.
Okay. That's actually it, because we have seen cases of children asking their parents, "Mommy, why is my pee standing?" And the mother just, "Don't touch it, don't touch it." So, sorry, pee means penis. So sometimes a child can come, "Mommy, why is my pee standing?" That is, "Why is my penis standing?" And the mother is just, "Don't touch it, don't touch it." So a lot of children don't know, okay, what are they supposed to do when it stands, or when teenagers. I've experienced this. I don't know what the girl was doing, but suddenly the guy stood, and he started screaming and running. I didn't know what was going on. So the girls there started laughing, and the guys there started going, "Hey man!" I was like, "Sorry, what's going on?" Like, oh, the girl was doing something and she sat down on top of him, and the thing stood up. I was like, oh. Oh, so before that happens to your child, can you explain, okay, what causes that? Now, I know there are times that it happens spontaneously to anybody, not when they're aroused all the time. But I think parents should explain to a child that, okay, if you see yourself in certain condition, when you feel certain things and you get aroused, there is a high possibility that your penis would stand. So when you are in that situation, what do you do? I think parents should explain that to their children. Like, let us have, is it not risk management, or should I say situational cues?
Okay.
Like, okay, when you're in that situation, do this. When you find yourself in this situation, do this. It's not because you're a bad boy, because some things happen. It's not because you're a bad child, and it might not because you were intently looking for it, because it happens. Though in the story I told you, that the girl was intentional about what she wanted to do.
Okay.
And it's not intentional a lot of times, but when you find yourself in that situation, parents should explain to their child, the boy child, what you're supposed to do, because unlike girls, we don't have things that stand, so we can easily hide our own. But boys, they have things that stand, and their clothing do not always cover it. So you should explain to your child how they are supposed to deal with that situation, especially in a crowded area, not to feel embarrassed or shame, because it's your body.
Yes.
It's your body. And there's also one thing I would like to emphasize: health, good reproductive sexual health for the boys, because I think parents do not talk about this health skills. Like, okay, you're supposed to wash it well. I've seen a boy child, baby boy, being dated, and I see how meticulous the grandmother especially cleans the private area of the child, especially when the child is just recently circumcised.
Yes.
I'm like, when they grow older, are they not supposed to keep up that cleanliness?
Okay.
So I'm like, but I don't think, because I've not seen cases where a mother would are you sure you cleaned that place very well?
Okay.
Are you sure you cleaned that place very well? Because most people are more concerned about the face, like, oh, my son has a fine face. But what about the rest of the body? Because we see a lot of teenage boy having skin reactions, things that should be totally avoided, especially eczema that comes from not bathing well. It's few mothers I have seen that they hit on their boy child, that take your bath well, brush your teeth well, wash everywhere well. Most mothers now, is the one that is doing himself now. So most mothers is like, oh, it's because he has not started being a fine boy, that's why. Because they expect that, oh, when they reach a certain age, they will now want to look good, show off, and all those kind of stuff. Parents shouldn't wait till their child is becoming self-aware of trying to prove a point or trying to be the fine guy for them to look good, take care of their body, and be aware of their sexual health. I think parents should start like, okay, your son is not taking his bath well. Make sure he takes his bath well. Make sure he cleans his room, because all this kind of stuff also affects the reproductive part of a child. I know that a lot of boy child has had issues with their reproduction because of some disease that could have been avoided.
Yes.
So now let's talk about toxic masculinity and the alpha male syndrome. I call it a syndrome actually. No, I call it a syndrome. So we have, you aware of this idea of
Okay.
boys should dominate, boys should not feel, they should not care, they can live their best life anyhow they want to live it. And it's not helping that a lot of celebrities and influencers do this alpha male stuff. A lot of celebrities promote promiscuity, because a lot of baby mamas, they have a lot of baby mamas because they can take care of having multiple sexual partners and multiple children. They're like, I can afford it, so it's not a problem. But then we're also forgetting that a child needs a father and needs a stable home. So like, what is your opinion on this like toxic masculinity and the alpha male syndrome?
Okay. Being a psychologist, I always say from a psychology point of view. I hope you don't mind.
No problem.
But when we look at what society considers right and wrong, it's kind of tricky, because society there is no right and wrong. All that is right, the power of it being, whether being right or wrong, is just elements that have been attributed by society. So society chooses what is right, society chooses what is wrong, and then the few, and when I say society, I mean the majority, and the few people that stand out at the other side of society, they are considered abnormal. I was having a conversation just about this topic. I was having a conversation in a vehicle the other day, and my friends that were around, we were talking about how I was saying rape is normal in the boy child. Rape is normal. The boy child is the one that rapes, that the perpetrators of rape is normal. And then there were a lot of females around me, and even males as well, and everybody was just crucifying me. Benjamin, why would you say that? What are you trying to say? So are you trying to say that the male child they are bad people, or they are this? I'm like, why would I say that? I'm also a male child. I don't want to paint myself bad, but I try to explain to them that me saying that it is normal doesn't mean that the females do not also, carry this action out. But when we look at statistics, it's proving that the boy child, or let me not say child, because the males, or let me say men, are the major perpetrators of rape. So when we look at this way, we now say, okay, when we bring it to the alpha male situation, alpha male context, and how the society, reflects this attitude towards the upcoming boys becoming men, you realize that the norm now is that for you to be
a man.
In fact, when you hear a man, what comes to your mind? I know that you want to tell yourself that, a man can feel pain, a man can cry, a man can do all that. But when you actually, right, when you hear a man, what comes to your mind is someone that is a man. You are strong.
Gym bro.
Yes, exactly. Someone that is strong, someone that are able to manage their emotions, someone that is able to manage their feelings, put everything inside, someone that does not complain too much. Yes, I know that we are people that are intentional about these things, and we're intentional about the advocacy for men, mental health, and expressing themselves. But truth is that whenever we hear a man up, whenever we even use these little cues, we use them every time, and that is because a man will always be a man. And why is that? Because of what society has proven to be right and wrong. So we need to break society down. We need to open society up to role models who would come up in the entertainment industry, in the business industry, organizations who are committed to showing how the boy child can also express pain. There was an experiment conducted, the psychological experiment conducted some years back, and then it was about people's reaction to the male and female child. So the experiment was this: there was a female child, and there was a male child, and people were told that it was a female, and they said, okay, everybody, this is my girl, so come on. So if you see people carrying the baby, how are you doing? And that is a that is actually a male child. So they were just reacting to it as though it was a female. So their attitude, they were like, oh, how are you doing? They were handling with care, fragile. Oh, now she looks so beautiful, she looks so cute. And then the same set of people were exposed to that same child, and we said, oh, this is a male child, maybe different dressings and all of that.
But so it was a female.
Yes. No, it was actually the same child.
Oh, the same child.
It was the same child, just that they dressed the child in other, and maybe other covering and all of that.
Okay.
And then you see them, you carry each other. This is a very strong boy. This boy is this. They will shake the boy like this. Who's that? They will throw him up, bring him down, all of that. So you now realize that these things they are inherent, is in us already. So no matter how we want to advocate for this, it's something that is. So we need a change in society. Society needs to be broken down for people who are, for organizations, for influencers that show how the male child can be very vulnerable. Yes. I think real role models of expressing male child's feelings, expressing not just the alpha male syndrome, but also how vulnerable they are, can be a source of inspiration for the younger generation to rise up and also mirror this for the younger generation. So it's like a cycle, and every revolution, every societal change is a product of this cycle. So that's what I think. Well, what do you think?
Okay. So I want to clarify something. When you said that rape is a norm for men or the male gender, yes, you're not particularly saying that, oh, this is right. So just to make sure that nobody gets it wrong.
No.
It's not saying that this is right.
Yes.
It's just saying it is a normal thing, because looking at the percentage of rape, it's a normal thing that a man out of, I think, 10 men, probably 4 would be involved in rape.
Yes.
We're not saying that it's a good thing, we're just saying it's a norm and it's something that should be seriously dealt with.
Yes.
So that's just a clarification. Then I've forgotten, there's this thing you said, I'm trying to remember it. Experiments about how a female child is supposedly a female baby or a baby girl is treated differently from a baby boy. I find it surprising because baby girls are stronger than baby boys. Baby boys, their spinal cord development takes longer than baby girls, which is why you see more baby girls sit early, walk early than boys.
That's amazing.
So I'm actually surprised that there's that. I know there's that difference, especially when it comes to when they're a year old, 2 years old. I've seen that difference. But for someone that I have taken care of a lot of babies, so I'm surprised that a lot of people don't know that girl babies are stronger than boy babies.
I mean, I didn't know. Thank you. I didn't know too.
Okay, so now you know. So we need more role models that would come up and take up another norm that is not toxic masculinity. That I think all fathers should be a role model to how well a man should behave, or the image of a man. Because if boys don't get that good image from their father, it's going to be hard for them to start looking like what is right and what is wrong. Because there are so many examples, but what are they comparing it to? There's this thing that said that though it's a bit away from what we're talking about, there's this saying that a lady would always marry a man that looks like her father. So please save the ladies from certain kinds of men and be a good father, so your son can be a good husband. So a lady can marry a good husband. So that's just it.
Please do so. We are watching you.
We are watching you, people. Please. So we need better role model, especially those that are right in front of the camera all the time, especially those that are up and out there. We have very few, and the major thing is that they keep their life private, which is the good thing to do, the very responsible thing to do. Not exposing your children early, exposing them to a lot of criticism, a lot of should I say fame, before they are matured enough to understand what is right and what is wrong, risk management. I think it's a responsible thing to do for a child, and one of the best things to do for a child. I know a lot of mothers are rising up and stepping up. I don't want to post my child picture. I don't want anybody to see anything. And they take a lot of pictures, but they share it to family members. But they don't post it online and like, oh, this is my child, this is what we did today. No. And it's a good way of protecting a child that does not understand how the world works. So, but we're still pleading with all of you that have good homes. Be a role model. You might not put everything online, but you can have one conversation or the other with your community around you, because children learn by seeing. So observation. So if you're a good father and you see a child with not so good father, you can be that example that can save the child's life. So don't be too cautious about yourself and say, oh, you don't want to talk to somebody or you don't want to be involved. I know that, yes, it's not your business, but when a child is involved, just step up a little bit to be that example that the child is looking for, to be that light that a child needs to know the right way to go. Twitter conversation.
I love Twitter. I'm there for the drama.
I am not really a big fan of Twitter. I like Twitter though. My feed is filled with a lot of nature pictures.
Okay.
It's very distracting.
Twitter is not for you. Nature pictures?
Yes.
Twitter is not for you.
Pictures of space, pictures of trees, flowers, insects.
That's cute.
Puppies, all those kind of stuff.
That's cute.
No, I used to have concocting in my Twitter, but then I started following concept art, and that just really changed everything. That's changed everything. Most of this stuff, if somebody sent it to me, and I was like, yay! Sorry, off points. Now we're going to points. There's this thing that happened on X, which Twitter X, the same thing. So there was this conversation concerning fathers abandoning their spouses and their children for the sidekick. There were many stories because people were giving their stories. So there are many stories about the father putting debt on the family and running away with a side chick that was younger than most of the case. All of the case is younger than the girl, probably his secretary or a woman that lives down the road or somebody he met somewhere. So like there were so many stories and so many debts, because that debt was what really got me. So many debts weighed upon the wife and the children to deal with, and the man running away with all the money. And probably there are some cases that the father ran away with the property documents and later sold the land or sold the house. So that is another issue. And somebody raised the point that all this is because the boy child is not taught sexual responsibility and discipline.
Yes, okay.
And I was like, this is actually something that we should consider. That is it the reason or a major contributor to this thing? Because this father walking away is on the rise.
Okay.
It's increasing. So what do you think?
Okay. So like I said earlier, decisions, right? Early exposure, the way the child was brought up, and then how is teaching on responsibility sustains this child towards manhood, and how he practicalizes or expresses responsibility in different situations around him. Okay, so just basing on that context. Now, there are people who were not opportune to proper education, but still they were able to be brought up well.
Okay.
Yes, there are people who maybe it was really tough on them, even orphans who maybe had it tough, and because of that, they learned some things on the way and all of that. So first of all, if you are that man, let me not go there. Just let me not go there. I may not be angry. So, first of all, what I would say is that drawing the line back to responsibility, like you said, responsibility is something that is not just taught through words of the mouth. Responsibility is the sum total of experiences, that transform the way you think, your mindset. So, for instance, there are some people who, let me talk about a little bit deviation. Let me talk about, for instance, when parents are like, "Oh, stay inside, don't go out, don't go out, don't go out," and all of a sudden they just expose you to university life, or maybe life after university, and they are like, "What do I do now? Things are very, very tough." Your parents did not really give you the opportunity to have experiences to be responsible.
Yes.
So experiences is the sole teacher of responsibility, not just words of the mouth. Words of the mouth, responsibilities gives you the chance to actually feel it. Responsibility is something that is felt. It's not something that is transferred word to word. When you feel the body, you know that there is to motivate you to do certain things,
and to make the right choices.
And to make the right choices, exactly. So, for parents, that I would say that now the reason for this things being popular is the fact that a lot of role models from their own father, a lot of broken homes is a primary cause of broken homes is the fact that either of the couples or even both of them is from a broken home. So it is passed down. We like to call it in psychology, we like to call it trauma. So certain forms of trauma that you've gotten from the past, you tend to mirror it in your future relationships. It's almost the same as, it starts from relationships before it gets to family. So how responsible is the person in keeping his girlfriend? How responsible is the person in towards his sister? All of those things. And then you see that right from the start, they find it difficult to maintain responsibility. That is commitment. Commitment itself is also a form of responsibility. Commitment in a relationship. So you see them jumping from relationships to another, and you see all those patterns like they feel that if they waste so much time here, there's more to life than this, so they jump off without putting the commitment or maybe being responsible towards something, not just to someone but to a relationship, being responsible to that relationship. And this is now a habit that is now carried into their own family. So because of that, you now realize that the experiences that they've had, they did not make the right decisions in the experiences that they've had, and because of these experiences, they've now become irresponsible. Experiences do not just teach you to be responsible, they can also teach you to be irresponsible. So that is when you make the wrong decisions, when you're in the wrong environment, or you are surrounded by wrong internal thought processes about, or maybe even false words of advices from friends. These things are when you look at the sum total of everything, it affects the child. And then so I'm not just going to base this on family, also friends. The type of friends that you see a guy with, in most cases, is a reflection of who this guy really is. So you see guys who maybe in the office they're hearing this about I left my wife, or I divorced my wife, or this and that, or maybe there's this other lady that she has a lot of money and she wants me to travel with her abroad and all of that, and we'll go leave your family, run away. And you say, and then maybe when you're now faced with an experience that gives you the chance to make certain decisions about something similar in your own marriage,
that makes you feel satisfied.
Yes, that makes you feel satisfied. You now start to base your own thought process. Okay, this guy also did it unconsciously. I'm not saying not all thought processes are conscious.
Yes.
Certain thought processes are unconscious. So you say, oh, this guy did this. Oh, this person did this. But when you hear it, when it becomes a norm, when it becomes popular, we talked about how society treats what is right and what is wrong. So when it becomes popular, when a lot of people around you are doing the same thing,
popular opinion.
Exactly, popular opinion. You see that you are most likely tilted towards that direction.
Yes.
And then you start making the wrong decisions because you're surrounded by yourself by false popular opinions, or let me say unhealthy popular opinions.
Yes.
So one of the challenges with this particular thing now, I would like to say, is that there is most likely, I don't know, I've seen clients, patients who have certain mental challenges, with, and then maybe because of maybe something like this has happened, maybe the wife is suffering from certain mental health challenges because of how the husband left her to raise only the kids and all of that. I've seen a lot of patients like that. But now the main challenge is that we've not actually found a way to cover the exposure of certain individuals to the environment where give them possibility to make unhealthy decisions related to, family-wise, and being in relationships and all of that. We've not really found a way to cope it, and this is because it's out of our hands.
Yes.
It's most likely with the environment that they find themselves in, environments of unhealthy, false opinions.
And their ideals and values.
Yes, exactly. So it's like a clash of ideas. One can swallow the other, but usually the majority of ideas, if it's false, it swallows the right ideas. So that is the challenge that we are having now. So please, I would just say this, please, if you find yourself surrounded by people who don't really put value, don't really concur, exactly match that of yours, it's best to leave them. Because people say this, they say, show me your friend and I'll tell you who you are. People will think that, oh, that is a very old saying, it doesn't really, I've heard that a lot, but it's actually real, because unconsciously you start to get affected, you start to get influenced by people around you, to the point that your opinions that were previously, that you were previously principled towards, it starts to feel as though, okay, it's okay to deviate. And from that thought of it's okay to deviate, you find yourself making actionable steps towards the deviation. And these actionable steps is so unconscious that it takes years. So imagine a year period between a person saying, oh, I think I want to leave my wife, I want to go to someone else. That thought process.
I'm in love with another lady.
I'm in love with another lady. Or this my wife has my heart, but that lady has my kidney or my lungs. I cannot breathe without her. So that is a thought process. And you're like, oh, I'm definitely not going to act on this. It's just a thought, thought that was put in there for unhealthy environment that you are living with. And then from that period of that thought, you find that over years, you realize that you're now thinking more deeply about those things. Like when your wife does something, like, oh,
this woman has started again.
Or let me put it the funny scenario, the Nollywood scenario, when the husband is angry with his wife, when the wife has done something, and then all of a sudden the other lady just starts to call, hello, I cooked something nice for you. Or maybe in the office, the lady just becomes extra nice. Oh, there's
maybe you're hungry, or you're hungry, and she just say, I brought extra food.
Exactly, and you're like, see this woman, I like you. And you're like, that my wife is just really getting me on my nerves, Those type of experiences, like I said, those experiences now start to make you tilting towards leaving your wife.
I should consider this.
Exactly. And it's like, it can take like years, like let's say 30 years, 20 years, 5 years, depending. And so nobody intends to leave their wife. I mean, nobody intends, but it happens.
I think some people actually intend, like, if this thing does not work out, I am leaving. But I actually love the way you came here from. And so you're saying that it does not, though it matters what the child is taught from a young age, if the child surrounds his or herself growing up with false ideas, the child is most likely to act on those false ideas.
Exactly.
So now, concerning what the person said, that this is because of this scenario of husbands leaving wives, is because of children are not taught, the boy child is not taught responsibility and sexual discipline. So it's not always the case. Yes, a child can have good upbringing, but if the child is surrounded with bad ideas, the child is going to deviate as he grows older, and he starts feeling this dissatisfaction in his life. And note, dissatisfaction happens in everybody's life. It might not even be towards your spouse or marriage. It might be work. It might be
because you are studying.
It might be it might even be food.
Yes,
it might be food. Like, there's this experiment that's been done that what the person there's always a change between 10 years period of what the person would eat and what the person it.
Okay.
There's this change. So dissatisfaction can happen in any area of your life. It's always questioning your life choices,
Okay.
where you are right now. That is majorly, some people call it, it's used to be called midlife crisis.
Okay.
Now they said mid-20 crisis.
Mid-20 crisis is strong, and that thing is real.
I think it's not just in a particular time or particular age group, because I have seen 30 years old, different age group having this dissatisfaction. What am I doing with my life? Where am I right now? And it happens. So I think also in part of educating a child about sexual responsibility and discipline, parents should also factor in this dissatisfaction that would later happen in life. Many people don't handle it well. A lot of people don't handle it well. I think a lot of people are so sure about the decision they're making now that this would never happen to them. So when it happens to them, it just hits them bass, and they're like, I'm stuck. I need to change my life. And they will look for something or someone to blame it on. And in many cases, it's the wife that is blamed, or the spouse, because it's not just exclusive to men. Women to walk out of marriages. So it's usually blamed on the spouse. And in that side, they are so concentrated with what I want. They don't really think about the children. I'm not saying people should be forced to stay in a marriage that they don't want. I think there's a better way to handle it than to just up and leave. There's a better way to handle it than just to disappoint your children. So I think a lot of responsibility is in, like, people should use wisdom, basically. That is the summary of it. Use wisdom.
And in addition, I think it also even stems from the coping mechanisms that they've developed when they were younger.
Yes.
So the coping mechanisms, then it solidifies as they grow older, and then when they now get to certain experiences in their life and they're not able to cope with their emotions, certain things that are going on in their family, they just up and leave because they cannot cope. They've not built capacity to cope.
Exactly. Yes, to cope. And with this generation, as years pass, you see that less and less children have weak coping mechanism.
Yes.
Any small thing, they are out and running. Any small thing, a teenager is getting sad, getting anxious, getting anxiety, and with anything, they're just off. They're just off. I think parents have tried to shield their children so much. Probably parents went through hardship. You shield your children so much, or you've allowed multimedia to teach you how you're supposed to take care of the coping mechanism of your child, that a child does not have strength to deal with stress.
Yes.
And Nigeria is stressful.
Very, very.
So you can imagine people going crazy all the time. People go crazy, especially with the traffic. But then I think parents should teach their children coping mechanism. And one of the good ways, this is a research though, one of the good ways to help a child have coping mechanism is for them to have a lot of physical, not a lot, but adequate physical activities. Which one of the top is having chores to do. Cleaning their room. Not just their room, clean the house. Having those structure put in place. When they deal with that kind of work, they have the confidence that they'll be able to do with anything. Now, a lot of people have issue with coping because they have not trained that confidence, that strength to, if I can do this, then I can do this. There's this movie I watched. There's an underground fighting ring for women. And most of the women that come to fight, they're not professional fighters, they're just everyday women. So most of the women that come to fight are going through a lot of things in their perspective life. So they come there to vent, and after they finish fighting, whether they lose or they win, now like, as long as I'm able to survive this, whatever is going on in my life, I will survive it. So that's one of the perspective I'm coming from.
After you recommend the movie for me,
I can't remember the name.
Don't worry, you remember.
I can't remember the name. But for a boy child, because boy childs are very protected, especially in the Igbo tribe, they are not allowed to do work. They are not. Oh, it's my child. He's the king. He's supposed not to. He's supposed not to do a lot of work. And I've seen this affect a boy child too in school. He was pampered. It's not even from a ritual, but no, he did not do any chores and everything like that. He was the only boy. So imagine. So when hardship came, he withdrew totally. He could not handle it. He looked for everything to make him feel happy. But when he started like doing things himself, he started coming out of it. And it's simple thing as sweeping the floor, washing the plates, and washing his clothes. All those kind of stuff build confidence, especially for a boy that, if I can do this, what else can I do? And it keeps their mind away from, I have to best everybody else. I have to make money young. And I think when you're able to build confidence in those areas, they will have the confidence that, okay, if I do things the right way, I would succeed. And I don't have to prove anything to anybody. I don't have to talk about my body counts because then I can vacuum a floor. And if you can vacuum a floor, you can do everything. That thing is not easy. I have tried it. I gave up. I just rather sweep my rug. So I think parents should look at different ways they can build confidence for their children, so they won't be led astray with things that seems fancy or things that seem norm when it's not actually right for them in the long run. So that's just my own opinion, and we're getting to the end of this. So any last words?
Okay, let me speak to my guys. Okay. Hello everyone. There is something that has been on my mind, and so far I think this is a great opportunity to talk to you about. It's the fact that as a society, we've spoken a lot about society. if you are society, you have a lot of work to do. So it's the fact that we all make up society. So the direction of society's rights and wrong is in our hands.
Yes.
The things that we choose, the opinions that we have, the things that we talk about, the things that we stay silent about, everything is communicated towards society's greater view on rights or wrongs. And now, when we're talking about the boy child, especially when it comes to reproductive health, it is very important to emphasize the generational pass down of knowledge on the boy child and its reproductive health. Not just that, but even other areas concerning their life, about emotional expression, about the mental health, about vulnerability, all of these things. Because at the end of the day, reproductive health it encompasses all. Your thought processes, your mindsets can affect your reproductive health. There are a lot of challenges, a lot of illnesses, reproductive health illnesses that stems from thought processes and internalized mindsets. So it's best to carry out proper education as parents. Carry out proper education towards your male children, telling them the right things, not just folk tales or folklores, or even tales under the moonlight, that false things that don't do this, don't do that, that you yourself know that are wrong. Tell them the right things. Be educative enough, be clear enough, answer questions correctly, especially when it comes to children. Don't just tell them that a man and a woman do this or that. Tell them the truth. Use actual words. These words are not vulgar, like sex, penis. They are not vulgar. They are the right words. And believe me, it's best your child know the right, or if not, they will know the wrong words. And you don't want your child to know the wrong words. I know the wrong words. I know the wrong words from experience in my practice. So it's best to not allow your children to know the wrong word, because the wrong words are very, very vulgar. So, and also, if you do not educate your child about these things, your child will be educated about it by someone else.
Internet.
Exactly. Internet is that someone. So it's best you carry out that education for yourself. And then if you are this child, or if you are a person that is also having challenges in your reproductive health, or maybe you feel that you're not educated enough, you can also research your own self, ask questions, and there are a lot of organizations that would answer your questions.
Free Tribe Network is for you.
We have the Free Tribe Network.
It's here for you.
Exactly. So you can contact, and then you can ask your questions. These are things that are very, very important. And now for friends, you people, why are we laughing?
I don't know anything.
So for friends, you people, you know what you are doing. Make sure you do the right thing. And for that innocent person that is in your midst, that person is innocent. So just know how to model better towards people, the person next to you, the kind of conversations you have, correct thought processes. And I mean correct people's thought processes. When people speak to you about certain things, you have the chance to put a pin in it and correct. And when your friend is talking to you about, boss, this thing happened with me and that lady, I will just do this and I'll go to another lady. You know the right thing, so correct. Educate, especially when it comes to sexually transmitted illnesses and illnesses that affect reproduction, reproductive health. It's best to also communicate these things properly. At the end of the day, knowledge is really, really significant in growth process.
Yes.
And as society, if we all can grow, it is possible that it is mandatory that we all have necessary information, necessary knowledge to carry that growth to a point where it becomes a revolution, and a revolution to a point where it becomes a social change. So
that's actually quite nice. I'll clap for that. Yay. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Just a little bit of highlights. Parents, please teach your children the right things at the right age. Teach them responsibility. Have a good modeling. Have a good environment. Especially when watching movies, like when certain things happen. My mom does it a lot. This is wrong. Don't do this at certain. Only do it when you're married. Now it's not just for girls, it's also for boys. Boys need to be taught. And I think parents should also make their children, their boy child, aware of, when an auntie is looking at you somehow, when she starts touching you somehow, come and tell me. It's not just girls it happens to, it happens to boys. And you'll be surprised how little they are exposed to these things because of aunties that usually give them sweets and biscuits. it's 1 in every 6 boys experience abuse.
Yes.
And it's rising. It's not something that is covered now. It's rising, especially with new sexual points of views.
Yeah.
So it's on a rise, and we need to protect our boys as well as we protect our girls. So we've come to the end of this episode. If this made you laugh, cry, think, or just this person made a good point, share this with somebody. You don't know if somebody really needs to hear this, or really needs to be educated on this, or needs the inspiration to start their own advocacy. You don't know. Just share it with somebody. If you're not following us, please follow us on all platforms. We are on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram at the Free Tribe Network. And if you're not a subscriber, subscribe right now. Click the red button and subscribe and ring that bell. Until next time, stay healthy, stay curious, stay kind, and stay unspoken. That's it.